You're still on mute.
Welcome. Thanks. Antony.
Amazing.
welcome, everyone. And especially to our special guest, Antony Baker, and his spectacular 15X hat.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon for us, Rick. Good morning for you. I appreciate you taking the time. Absolute classic start to a podcast there. Sorry, Rick. You're on mute.
Yeah, exactly. Well, luckily this gets edited for the podcast, but those of you who are listening live, that is the reason to listen live, so you can get those true moments. And for those of you who are listening and tuning in, you're listening to the Recruiting EQ podcast. This is our live event version. This is a discussion show about the benefits of emotional intelligence in the job market. Dare I say, Antony, we talked about this before, dare I say human intelligence in the job market, as in the antithesis to AI.
T-shirts is that written across the front of it, right?
I absolutely. I think we should have an army of people in those T-shirts. Thank you all. If you're joining live, please feel free to comment. And we are not on the same platform as you, but you may be on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, or X. And if you're on any of those platforms, we welcome your comments, questions, etc. And when there's a lull in the conversation here, we'll happily read them out and get to them. A lot of good participation, actually, Antony. Although it's January, so maybe everyone's still hungover and not commenting.
You know what's funny about this, Rick, and you kind of hit that nail on the head to start off with. And sorry, I've got less hair than what it looked like in my hat, but we as recruiters, and as I say to guys, if you can't have a conversation with somebody, you can't just be straight up, you can't, make the mistakes and roll from it, then are you even a recruiter?
Yeah, seriously.
We're obviously very different. You're a rec to rec, and I'm a real recruiter. And no.
I see. That's how it's going to be. It's going to be one of these slam podcasts. Eh?
I would have to say that is about as far away from it as it gets, because I've got some very good friends of mine who are rec to recs and have helped me along the time. Or for the people that don't know what rec to rec is, recruitment to recruitment, somebody that hires a recruiter for a recruitment company. And sorry to take your line, Rick, but these guys are the most hardcore people on the planet. And I think if we were in Anchorman right now and we were going to go and fight the other news crews, I would be taking rec to recs with me all day long, because I'd have never met anybody that can qualify somebody as good as a rec to rec. And when we talk about human intelligence, if you keep talking and you keep talking about something that's not right, eventually that's going to become, you're going to fall over from it. So human intelligence, love that. HI, I've already got the URL, so hi.ai, it's great.
There you go. Yeah, we're starting businesses. As my friend, I was telling you about this briefly, my friend coined that phrase for an ad campaign that he was doing for the University of Ottawa that I had the pleasure of working on a little bit as well. And a major-ish university in the world, but certainly a major one in Canada and in North America, they were trying to rebrand some of their programs that hone skills you get in the arts, right? Creativity and critical thinking, if you're doing logic and philosophy and stuff like that, and as human intelligence, which I think is from an education perspective, I'm like, kudos to you guys, because these are things that we're going to have to sharpen in the workforce if we want to stay relevant,
You said critical thinking there. Let's not go down that rabbit hole, right? We're 5 minutes in, but critical thinking. I saw this piece the other day, and it said, you know what, we used to do this thing back when we were younger, and I'm an older man than you, Rick, but we're not young men. No. And it said, we used to do this back in the day where we would look at things, we would make our own decision. It's amazing, and we wouldn't ask anybody else, and we would put that decision to practice. And when we look at AI and HI and all the other I's that come with it, and somebody asked me the other day what AI meant, and this is somebody I hope they're not watching, that's in my family, and I have an AI business. So I don't think we're making people smarter, but if we can make them more efficient and we can really find the good guys out of it, then. Which is exactly what 15 was built across, right? It is called 15 for a reason. We have the top 15% of people in talent. And we do it through a process of elimination, if you like, which sounds a bit mean when I say it out loud, but our clients want the best people. Your clients that are talking to you about recruiters, if you're talking to some guy and he's like, yeah, I make £1 million a year, and he's living in a flat by himself and he can't afford to pay his rent, then there is a chance that he is not making £1 million a year. And that's quite an extreme process, but your process of elimination, and your business looks fantastic, and you're obviously very good at it. And we've had some great conversations, and we don't really know each other, but I could really have a conversation with you that I felt comfortable and I felt like I was really going through it. And you've got some great stories. So I'm really looking forward to the next, however long we got on this call. However long it is not going to be long enough. I can tell you that much.
It's not going to be long enough. Unfortunately, this isn't like a Joe Rogan style marathon 4-hour podcast, although it could be. But today's episode topic, and again, this was one of many we could have hit, Anthony, based on our talk, is today's episode is creating community is vital, is the soundbite I picked from you in our chat. And incidentally, this is episode 85, which always blows my mind that we've been doing this that many episodes.
Kittle.
What's that?
George Kittle.
George Kittle? Is he number 85?
Yeah, I think he's 85. I'm actually not a San Francisco 49ers fan, but he is a 49ers tight end. I played American football here in the UK as well.
Oh, snap. Yeah, I mean, because of being Canadian, like I check American football every once in a while, but I end up being like a basketball, hockey, baseball guy because that's the teams we got some skin in the game. But yeah, episode 85. You're episode 1 of season 3. I go by calendar year, so season 3. This is bonkers.
I actually looked through some of these and I really enjoy it. Actually, you got a great way of doing it, and I do quite a bit of podcasts. I do quite a lot of like sort of panels and talks and stuff like that at various events. As you know from me, you're just going to get it as you see it. I'm a guy that went from a bit of an interesting background to sitting in the CEO position of a multi-million-pound business, and I've done it the hard way. But as we said, this starts from community, and I'm looking forward to getting stuck into it, mate. Really excited.
Absolutely. And before we get into the sort of community piece of it, Anthony, if we could briefly go over your progression that brought you to here. I know that maybe briefly is hard, but you gave me the story and it's quite something. Like if we could maybe go over that a little bit for the benefit of the audience, I think that'd be super good.
Right. So the way that I like to start this out, Rick, is I like to say I was a professional athlete. And then just leave it a bit of silence just for people to look at me and go, my God, if you were a professional athlete, what was it, shot put or rugby? So I started life as a young man as a professional windsurfer. I had the opportunity of winning multiple national world titles as a professional windsurfer. It is unbelievably difficult. It was a very complicated process every day of sitting on a beach in shorts and flip-flops, waiting for the wind to turn up. I think back in those days, when you're a young man and you're doing that, I kind of had the capacity to be able to go, this is not going to be forever. Have a laugh. So, and I did exactly that. I had a fantastic time. Me and my brother lived in Hawaii. We lived on Maui for many years. I had got some friends there that I will hold dear for the rest of my life. But it is a very upside down life that I had. Most people work hard, go enjoy themselves afterwards. I worked my ass off as a young man to go windsurfing in some of the best places in the world, from Fiji, Australia, and I lived in Australia and Hawaii. And then I had multiple injuries from doing that, so I then became a professional fighter, which I did for a number of years. I did MMA fighting, sort of the UFC style fighting across Australasia. I was freestyle martial arts world champion as well, so I did that stuff sort of chucked in as a bit of an added value. After that, I went straight into direct sales, which kind of built the basis of everything that I do. And I'll just tell one quick story, if you don't mind, Rick, from that.
Please.
Day one in sales. And if the guys that are watching from the Unite Marketing, which I thought was a marketing company, which wasn't, it was a direct sales business. First day, Sydney, 42 degrees. I was in wooden Ben Sherman shoes that my mum had sent me for Christmas. It was January. I'd knocked on just over 90 houses. I did 0 sales, not one sale. We were selling a SIM card, upgraded SIM card, a free SIM card, basically. It was ridiculous. Anyway, I went in. I hit who did the best job, and this is a long story made short. But who nailed it that day? Now, that guy over there did $4,500 or something. And I went and I said, can I go and work with him tomorrow? So I stood with him. I worked the 5 bases, the 5 steps, intro, pitch, rehash, and so on. Those 5 steps, and I wrote them down on a piece of paper, and I just knocked on the first door, and I read exactly that. And then I realized that every 1 in 5 doors I knocked on, I would do a sale. So what I went was, I'm just going to knock on as many doors as I can. They had to hunt me down at the end of the night, and I made over $10,000 that day. To this record, this day, it's still the record for Cobra Group on an individual contractor for sales. So that kind of started that career. And when I came back to the UK, I got into sales and then got into recruitment, and I started at the base level. I mean, day one of recruitment for me was going and pitching a company on compliance when I knew nothing about compliance to a CEO of Raymond James, who randomly sponsors Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which is in North American football company.
Football,
yeah, or American football, we call it here. So I just got a love for it, and I tell you what I liked about it. I liked the fact that I could just be me. My stories became something, and I've got millions of them. Became something that people actually were quite interested in, and people tried to suck that out of me as we went along. Like I remember somebody who was a very good friend of ours said, "Stop saying dude," and I was like, "But dude, it's kind of comes naturally." And they went, "Because it's not professional. It doesn't come across well. So stop saying it." And I tried to become this kind of robotic. Not using my experiences or not using my understanding to get to know people and make mistakes, by the way. And it just wasn't me. So it took a little bit of time for me to find my feet in it, but I always did very well at sales. I always had the capacity to be able to talk to very senior people and to the junior people and make them both feel sort of, together. And then, time went on. I went into management consultancy because I didn't want to be a recruiter. I wanted to be somebody in a $5,000 suit providing £5,000 an hour consulting services to the big banks, and I did that. And I got some great experience doing that and worked with some fantastic people who are still friends of mine today. But then I just really wanted to make. I felt like, and this is a correction on that, Rick. I felt like I wanted to fix the problem.
Right.
And I think when you look at going to fix a problem, you first got to educate yourself on why that problem started out. And that takes time and it takes money. I'm about £750,000 into learning that at this point. But I can comfortably say I can tell you what the problems are and I can tell you how we can go and fix them. And that kind of brings us up to this point of working with 15. And, my team, my COO is a very dear friend of mine. He's somebody I met who was at Barclays, who we worked with them. He's my COO. He lives in Florida, in Amelia Island, just north of Jacksonville. And he's like my yin to my yang. The way that he looks at life is a bit different to me, but we have 100% trust. Sometimes that trust can get a bit frustrated, but I feel like it should do to be able to find where the barriers are for us to be able to grow what is essentially going to be an unbelievably, or is already a unique business, which will, we're looking at 500 to 750 million valuation in sort of 4 to 5 years. And to get to that point, it doesn't happen easy.
No, hell no. Okay, let's back up for a second, because you said so many interesting things. And there's one thing I'm curious about, because I also got my start sort of in sales. I did a bit of direct sales, but it was mostly telesales that I got started in, which was huge in Montreal at the time. Yeah. And I'm wondering what do you attribute your very quick success to? Is it like after being an MMA fighter, there's a certain level of fearlessness? Because I feel like fear of knocking on doors is what holds people back, the nervousness, whatever. Did you just have no nerves and you just were like, I'm going to just do this all day and all night? Or what was the difference, do you think?
You know what? And I'm going to say something really weird now, but failure is a underrepresented fear or feeling. Failure is almost like success. People chase success and never attain it. And they will fail away along the way, and they forget to take advantage of that failure. I can tell you now, and there will be people watching this that will be able to attribute to some of the failures that I've had, and I have absolutely no problems talking about them, because that's made me who I am today.
Right.
And I think if you're a child and you're born, you learn fear from your parents that are around you. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't touch that. Be careful of that. Don't jump off Niagara Falls. And some of them are warranted, but if we're teaching our kids not to make any mistakes, then you will just never live a life of full understanding. And I don't think I'm anywhere near that at this point. But I can tell you now, I've got absolutely no fear of failure, because it's happened to me so many times.
Right.
And when it happened to me, and luckily I was very good at what I did as a young man, but I still had times where I needed to rely on my family. And we talk, and to bring the community element into this, when you look at just your family alone, and not everybody has a family that I do. I'm Greek, I'm a Cypriot kid, and my mum's English, my mum's Cypriot, my dad's English, and they're great parents, and I've had a fantastic childhood. Yeah, I'm sure they probably made some mistakes, but I'm sure I do with my kids. But that's my instant community. When I look at my wife now and my 3 kids at home and my 3 cats and 2 dogs and 2 horses, that's my nucleus of that community, and everything expands out from that. And my wife is Natalie. I met her 30 years ago on New Year's Eve. We were engaged to marry. We ended up separating. I'm not going to go into that because she's probably watching. And then we had the opportunity. She gave me the opportunity to be able to get back with somebody who was like a lifelong person connection for me. And I'm very, very fortunate, because not everybody is, to find that person that she doesn't want failure. She understands the failure that's going to come from me, and she's going to look at me and tell me that that's a bad situation, but she's doing it because she wants the success, not just for her, not for the family, but for me, of what I can attribute to that. But the only reason why I know that's happening is because I can look at myself and go, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't have done it. Yeah. But you know what you did, and now you can tell everybody that that's happened and that was crazy and that was nuts and you probably shouldn't do it. But I'm not an aggressive guy, but I will look after my family, like or my friends or my community, unbelievably, religiously. And sometimes it would have been at the detriment to progressing at some point. But I believe I shouldn't be in this position, and we talked about this before, but I should not have been sat here having this conversation with you at any other time than right now, Rick.
Right.
Because that's it's called the burnt toast theory, right? If you miss your train, you shouldn't have been on that train anyway.
Sure,
and whether you can see that picture and you've got the capacity to be able to put that in for future, and I never had that, not until I was about 47, where I was meeting a business manager. And she said to me, and please cut me off, mate, if I'm waffling on here. But
no. I'm going to let. This is my cat Karen, by the way, everybody. Who's
hey Karen. Yeah, I'm in my office now, so my animals are at home.
She's trying to get out of here, so I'm going to let her out of the studio. Here,
you have a cat called Karen, which is 100% an interesting process. So I'll keep talking while you're going and doing that, Rick.
No, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. Your camera just. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So I walked into my business manager, who I'd never met, and after lockdown, all this sort of stuff, she, and we sat, and I was sat with her for 5 minutes, and she went, "I'm 48 years old. I've been successful at schooling, career, and done all this stuff, but never really achieved what I thought I could do." And she went, "You realize you got ADHD, don't you?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" My ex-wife was bipolar and had ADHD, and again, that's another podcast that we can do, maybe a late night one. But
we'll hit a mental health podcast.
And she went, "You realize you got ADHD?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "You have ADHD." I was like, "Really?" So anyway, I went through and I'm not going to bore anyone about the process, because let me tell you, it's arduous. There are 40,000 people a month that say they've got ADHD in the UK. 40,000. Yeah,
I believe it. Literally everybody that I've been friends with for years, or even people I had lost touch with and see them. So anyone who's catching me up on their life, I would say 9 out of 10 of them are like, "And I got diagnosed with ADHD, and I'm on these meds." Like 9 out of 10 people.
I'm on these pills, and life's amazing.
Yeah.
And you know what? I had this business had a different iteration. It was called something else, and I was working for it, and I was on my own. I was doing this stuff, and we were putting the money in, and this is 3 years ago. And then I went through the process, and that process was fantastic. It was the people that I worked with, the medical professionals, the psychiatrists, were exceptional. And, I think everybody can really easily look back at their life and go, "Oh, my life, this happened, and that's not because of me, and my life's shit because of it." And apologies for the language, but my life was terrible because of that. And I was never that guy. I was like, I'm going to make my own fun. I'm going to enjoy it. I love money, and I want nice things, but I would never run over any of my friends or anything for money, which is always a thing that recruiters had problems with me with, because they're like, "Go and screw everyone over and you'll be fine." Early days. So I got diagnosed. I got my treatment. Day 1 of having the first pill, and I take dexamphetamine. So I took an amphetamine. I decided not to go the natural route. I was like, as long as it doesn't make me not who I am, because I quite like who I am. And
sure,
I'm a Marmite guy. You either like me or you don't. And it never really bothered me if people didn't. So I took the medication. On day 1, I fixed like 5 things around the house that my wife's been trying to get me to do. I'd organized all my clothes, and I was like, right. And it was like 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, right, now what we're going to do. And since then, when people, because I'm quite open, tell people about the ADHD, it is a superpower if you will let it be a superpower. If you sit around going, "Oh, I can't do that," and my wife will sometimes say to me, oh, here's the ADHD talking, and I'm in my head, I'm like, you got no idea what you're talking about, mate. I did 400 things this morning before anybody even opened their eyes that they will never ever get to do in their lives. So I'm just super excited to be. I'm 50, right? I'm this part of my life. I think is going to be the best, Rick, and it is. And we'll get to the community piece in a minute, but
yeah.
I don't have loads of friends, but my friends I do have are great friends, and I love my family. I love being at home. My son sits next to me in the desk next to me. He's like one of my best mates. We play golf every day. My brother's I hang out with him every day. So, my personal community, never really went too wide, but it's deep.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. So there's a commonality between a lot of the people that I speak to who are similarly positive and optimistic about the future, like you just said right now, that you're looking at. And by the way, I feel like 50 is the new 40, right? Like, they used to say life begins at 40. I think now it begins at 50, right? For if you stay positive and you stay with that good outlook. But I feel like everybody who is in a similar spot of positivity and optimism about where their life is going talks about community being very important in business, in personal life, etc. And everybody who's really down and really like hurting for cash and freaking out about everything talks about things from a very individualistic perspective, like a hero's journey to bootstrap it, do everything on their own. I think that there's something to that. I don't know how you feel about that, sort of divide. I know it's a crass divide. But
we as recruiters, right, we feel and I've got no problem saying that. I mean, that we spend a lot of time by ourselves. We get a lot of people on the other end of the phone that are telling us to pee off or don't do one or jump off a cliff or do whatever. And I found a very good way of dealing with that. And I think when you start looking at different laws that govern people's bodies, like law of averages, and all those sort of things, your law of attraction, all these sort of things that once you start understanding your spiritual journey internally, and this has got nothing to do whether you're a Christian or whatever you believe. My friends are across all faiths, right? And the people that work with us across all faiths. But I think once you understand yourself and you can sit and you can go to bed at night, put your head on the pillow, regardless of who's in your bed, and you can close your eyes and you can be happy with what you've done and who you're around and what you're trying to achieve, and you can be satisfied. Great. If you're in a position where that is not something that can happen, expand your community. Yeah. Go and sit in a Starbucks and just talk to the people that are there. I'm a member of David Lloyd. I go to David Lloyd 3 every morning before, and I'm sitting in the change rooms and I'm talking to random people who are hair drying them themselves. You know what it's like in a changing room.
Yeah.
And you're chatting away, and I've become friends with people who I just met in the changing rooms, or we're having showers, or in the hot tub with there, or in the gym, or whatever. That community is a different community for me.
Absolutely.
I also live on the South Coast, and I go to London, which is a different community. I've got friends in London who've never been to my house here on the South Coast, but they are friends of mine. So when we talk about community, we talk about the expansion of that. If you're sitting there and you're wondering what's going to happen, how are you going to find your next meal next time, what's going to happen, reach out to someone. Literally, Facebook has Facebook groups that are localized. I'm sure you've got one. Does Canada have Facebook?
Absolutely, yeah. And Facebook groups are localized.
Yeah. So I've been to Canada. That was a bit of a jest, so we'll leave that.
It's not just igloos and fire. You know what I mean? It's Facebook.
I'm trying to spend as much time on social media now, but I was looking at a Facebook group the other day, and the Facebook group was, this lady was like, "Look, I'm new to the area. I don't know anyone." And she put a picture of herself, and she was just like a nice lady, and she looked like a nice lady. And she had hundreds of people like, "Let's go and have coffee. Let's go and have lunch. Let's go and do that." We do this mixer down there at this point. But to do that, she's got to be pretty comfortable with herself.
Yeah, I agree. It starts with yourself. But I love that this is so, like, your community mentality extends further past the business model and into sort of life in general, which I do appreciate, because I think it's important to sort of be community minded, so that if you try to employ the creation of a business community, it's not fake. Like, you're not faking it. You actually are community minded. I think that's kind of important.
It's hard work.
Yeah, it's hard work, but it pays off.
You know, the hardest question ever, Rick, to ask anybody is your partner in the morning to say, darling, husband, wife, whatever it is, how am I doing?
Yeah, as a partner. Yeah, for
How am
sure.
I doing as a partner? Where am I failing? My wife has got absolutely no problem telling me where that is, and I love it a bit. So if you're watching this, Natalie, I love you and fantastic, and she completes me and all that stuff. But she will have absolutely no problems. In fact, she will not go to sleep until she's told me everything that she has a problem with.
Well, now that you ask, I've got a few pages
Yeah.
there. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
For
But
sure.
it's a good question, and I'm not. Again, we don't talk about religion or politics on podcasts, but I'm going to a little bit. So
Sure.
I knew somebody very well who was Jehovah's Witness, and I'm a very open guy. I'm a very interesting guy, and I like history. I like reading. I like listening to things. History is very important to me. And I looked into this, and what was really interesting about Jehovah's Witnesses, obviously I've got very good friends with Jehovah's Witnesses, is it looks at you and you stand in front of a mirror and who you're talking to is you and it's in your soul. And it's a very powerful thing to do. Manifesting is something that I do every morning anyway. I will stand in the mirror and I'll talk to myself, and that is the same as putting food in your body or smoking or taking drugs, those things. That negativity going in your body's going to react in a way because it doesn't know what reality or fiction is. So when you talk to yourself in the mirror, if we take community, and we're getting quite deep on this now, and this is great, but when you go all the way back to the nucleus of that community, you will not achieve anything if you can't look at yourself in the mirror and be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Because good people won't believe you.
Well, it's true. Honesty breeds authenticity, and you need to be authentic to create a real community that has depth, right? That isn't just a superficial kind of artificial thing where it's like we talk to each other, but there's no trust. There's no like you need to open up and be authentic.
Yeah, and I think that's where I come from. People say to me, we were at lunch yesterday, Darryl and I, and Darryl's a good lad. He's a great guy. And he's obviously a nice looking chap. He looks great when he goes out, but I talk a lot, right? So we were chatting to him yesterday, and I said to the guys, these lawyers, 4 lawyers in front of us, who are lovely, and I said, I'm like this all the time, by the way. And they're like, we're pretty sure you're like this all the whole time.
Exactly. Like, you don't need to tell us that. We figured it out.
Yeah, but I think you don't need to be like me to create the things that we've done. Anybody can do this, and you find your place. My son is not necessarily somebody that's going to go out high-fiving everyone or be on every video or every podcast, but he's exceptionally good at doing what he does, and he has a different way of doing it. And I think when we hire people in our business, we don't hire people because we want to tell them what to do. And I think when you talk about micromanaging or figuring out how people work, and we had this discussion a little bit before this call, but you're putting somebody in a box, and that box might be a square box that you're trying to fit into a circle. And, all of a sudden you get the complexities in this business. So let's talk about community, not just in what we're doing in our business, and we'll get to that in a second, but if you're a company and you've got 10 people in it, you think that adding one more person to that business is going to help your business, it may do, but it might also ruin it.
Yeah.
Figuring out how you brought that in. So your community is that team. How do you improve that team? It might be getting rid of some people. We move people on. We bring people in all the time when the situation sort of rises and changes. So community for me, the word community is something I didn't really understand until I went out and started building one and spending my own money on doing it. And let me tell you, it is because everyone's got a database. I got 25,000 people on my database, and I've probably spoken to every single one, or at least somebody in my team has. I would not class that as a community. If a company rang me and said, "Oh, I've got 25," I said, "Yeah, I've got 25,000 people on my," they would go, "How many of them do you know?" And I go, "Well, I've spoken to all of them once." And they're like, "Well, what are they like?" I'm like, "Who knows 25,000 people?" But our community, our marketplace community, our talent-based community, I know them all because they all went through our process. Oh, excuse me.
Bless you.
They all went through the process. So you've got to know your community. You've got to understand what those tools are that you need to put into them. And then you just got to commit.
Yeah. And so there's a couple of things that we talked about too, in terms of your methodology for building and nurturing and that community and searching through it and everything. And what strikes me as interesting is it seems like everybody in the owner manager sort of sphere, not just in recruiting agencies, but period, is asking themselves the question, right? Like, what things do we have humans do that are part of their job? What things do we use AI for? What things do we, use different kinds of tools? And I feel like you had an interesting take on the combination of using AI, but in favor of getting a really nuanced understanding of your community. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit on how you guys work?
Just to paint a picture for everyone. So everybody works. Let's say everyone works for a company. Everyone's got a boss. That boss, do you think you're better than that boss? And I'm asking the community here. I mean, feel free to chat if
comment
if you want to comment. Do you think that you are better at your boss's job than you? Your boss might be a middle manager and so on and so forth. So I think the way that we look at this at AI and how it works is, and I've got a team around me of people, Brad, Lee, and Daryl, these guys that understand AI, and what they built the Workmate system until what will become the 15 AIs is incredible. These guys are unbelievably smart. So, but if somebody says, right, you've got to hire somebody in your business, or your manager might not be as good and you think you're better than them, what could you do better than them? And how would you be able to do your job and that job at the same time? So then you start going, right, their job, what is their job different to mine? Their job adds 3 more things. They've got to talk to people, do one-to-one, so on. Right, that becomes those things. Where would you fit them in the process that you do throughout your day or throughout your week, throughout your month to complete your job successfully, depending whether you're on commission or whatever it is. So that then becomes process. You then have somebody, a management consultant, will come into the business and go, right, your process is that all you do are rubbish. We're going to charge you 100 grand and we're going to optimize your processes. Process optimization. So process optimization can be as simple as you wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you go downstairs, you put yourself some toast on, you make yourself a cup of tea or coffee, or if you're in America, get yourself a donut, and then or Canada, and then you go to work, you get the train. All of that stuff becomes something you'll sit at work and you go, actually, I don't even remember getting here.
Yeah,
because your brain has formed a process optimization for that piece. Well, let's say you're through that process, you get the train. Well, in the morning, you're looking at your phone, part of that process, and you see that the trains are delayed or cancelled. Your brain then has to go, right, let's drive our car, or let's take the bus, or let's take an Uber, or let's get somebody else to pick me up. That part of the whole process, that little piece, needed brain power.
Yeah.
The rest of it did not. That is large language model, AI. That is going and getting data from somewhere else. So when we look at human intelligence and where it can utilize AI across it, as a human, if I wake up in the morning and we have AI, we have got around AIs, we've got loads of AI tools, and again, that's probably another full podcast. But I'll be able to go, look, Sarah, can you tell me my trains to London today? Are they going to be all right? And she'll just go, oh, actually, they're a bit delayed. Get this one instead of this one. Do this and this. Do you want me to change that meeting? Move this meeting around, etc. Does it for me. Don't have to deal with it. So then by the time I get to the train station, I know what's going to happen because I haven't stressed out about it. I didn't just rock up hoping that the trains were going to be on time.
Yeah,
that happened for me. So then when we look at the community and how we can build that into our community, we go, right, I get 5,000 applications a week. I don't know how many you get, Rick, for recruiters in your business. Do you get many?
I don't sift through them myself anymore, a lot.
Yeah.
And we try not to advertise that much.
Yeah. This is just a caveat for the people watching. Rick is now too big up to look at the CVs that are coming into his business. He will have somebody that does that for him. Yeah. That is the small language models that are looking at those pieces. But so we get so many CVs coming in, and I had to figure out a way, because I was doing so many live streams like this. People will come in on my live streams going, oh, I sent you my CV, but you didn't reply.
Yeah. Yes.
And I was like, you know what? 100%. Let me do it now while I'm on this group. I've got your CV. You sent me your CV and said in the line, said, look at my CV and tell me what jobs you've got are available. So then I went, right, everybody that does that, you're not getting a response from me. And I put that on all my messages. I said, look, I really want you to send me your email, send me a detailed overview. And I was very clear on what I wanted that to be. I thought that was process optimization. It kind of was from my side. If you send me this, you'll get feedback. If you send me just your CV from your phone, it says, look at my CV, you do all the work. And see if you
tell me what you think I'm good for. Yeah.
And can you do the job for me afterwards? You're not getting a reply. So I started doing that. That worked. And then I went, right, actually, we're getting lots of CVs. We're very good at what my team is very good. I say me, but we. Let's use the community reference for this. They, and I don't mean me as in they, them. I mean they as in everybody in my team are exceptional. So by the time it gets to me, they're usually really good. So I said, right, how do we differentiate between the people who are good and not?
Yeah.
You do that. Because the CV is a piece of paper, right? People can spend $100, $200 and get someone to write it for them. It looks like, you got Tiger Woods on the other end and a very drunk John Daly turns up. So, sorry. So, I thought I was very good at this, right? We've all had that as recruiters. We think we're unreal. Yeah. There's nobody better than us at doing this. No one's going to beat us. And I had a project running in London. It was a digital asset firm. We had 15 people on the project, very lucrative projects, multi-million-pound deal. And we were dropping the ball, quite frankly. We were doing a pretty average job. And actually, the individuals that were on that project were very good. And a lot of them are still working with me now, and individually they were great. A lot of them were. And I was taken to the manager of the project, the head of compliance, and she was like, look, we're going to have to find someone else to do this rubbish. So give me a little bit of time. So I come up with a test. It was an aptitude test. It was attention to detail, communication, time management, and motivation. 4 things, 4 10-minute courses done, recorded online. You couldn't get out of it. You couldn't copy, and it was screen grabbed. So everything on your screen, and you was in that video.
Right.
So I did all of these people, and again, make the story shorter, I gave it to all of these guys, and we could have valued them from 1 to 28 or however many people on the project, 22, I think. 1 to 22. You literally, I said, if you don't get 50% or above, you're not on the project.
Mm-hmm.
4 or 6, 2, including 2 managers, 4 people were successful. So we replaced them with people that passed our aptitude test, nothing to do whether they could do that job or not. We took that for granted based on their history and obviously us talking to them. They started that job. Since that day, 3 years ago, 0 replacements.
And what were the 4 things again? So it was attention to detail, motivation.
Is the highest piece of information. Like any person that's hiring out here, if you're speaking to people that you haven't tested on whether their attention to detail is good, it's like you get this, Rick. My favorite is, and I won't scream out because it's somebody's email. I got an email the other day from somebody, and their first line said, because I talk about attention to detail and communication, very important, because we work with a lot of Asians, Africans in our business, and we love them. They do fantastic work. But if you struggle to speak our language or to write the way that we write, and you're dealing with a bank that gets a huge fine based on you not understanding that language, then just go, we'll help you educate it, we'll help you upskill and so on. So it's not a problem. We need to identify it. So I said, and on the first line it said, excellence, attentions with detail. Attention was spelt incorrectly. And I'm like, nothing goes out of my building unless 15 AIs have checked it to make sure it, 1, makes sense, and 2, is actually spelled correctly, because I am illiterate when it comes to that sort of stuff, and I'm terrible at that sort of thing. And also, you see, I take my glasses off a lot. I don't wear my glasses when I'm not at work. So if I'm not on my computer. So if I'm in my car or whatever, not I text while driving, but if I'm on a train, I'm texting. I can't really read it. So I'll send something to someone and it could say anything. So
it's just gibberish.
Yeah, exactly. So attention to detail, communication key.
Yeah, communication.
Time management, motivation. Yep. And our processes that we've set up for our recruitment process is pretty brutal on people. But if you can get through it, you can do a normal job. Life's not easy, mate.
No, it's true. Well, and the thing is that I feel like the job market is, you tell me if you're seeing this as well, Antony, but I feel like the job market is changing a little bit, where things that were considered like levels of skill that were considered passable or good enough for even lower level jobs that are not paying a zillion bucks, but something that's even paying 50,000-60,000 USD, let's say, that's a relatively entry level job, whether it's in recruitment or customer service or whatever the hell, right? I feel like the expectations have gone up, and since COVID, salaries have gone down a little bit, which has been, it's a market correction. I understand there was a weirdness going on for a little while, right? But I do feel like it's probably useful information for people who are looking for work out there and who are doing these processes as well, is that these are things that you want to try to work on, right? There's a million tools out there, a lot of which are free even, to help you with these things. But it feels like the expectations on all of that stuff have gone up a fair bit. Would you say?
I guess, and to look at that question from my perspective, have we got smarter? The 100% no.
No.
I think I was watching this piece. I'm very inquisitive. If I think of something, I want to look at it, I want to go down that road, I'll go down that road and have a look at it. And I will learn about it and I'll get a good understanding from my perspective. I'm not trying to be a Rhodes Scholar here, but let's look at this. So I was reading this thing about movies, because with somebody that's got ADHD, and if you've got ADHD and you're watching this, please comment and say funny, because my Netflix or whatever streaming channel you use, and we've got all of them in our family, you'll go on it and my kids go to me, why are you watching something for 3 minutes or 30 seconds?
Right.
And I said, because there could be a series of 15 episodes in each series and 8 series. If I'm in the first 15 seconds can go, I know what's going to happen.
Next.
I'll just turn it off, because I cannot watch it. Cannot bring myself, because I know what's going to happen. So I was like, why is that happening? So I then did some research. It turns out that TV series and shows that are made now are dumbed down by 40%.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's...
And you know why?
Hit me.
Because people are on their mobile phones.
Yes. So the mobile, but also from the people I've spoken to who are in TV production, because I had that sort of creative stint in my life, and I still speak to people on this front. Interestingly, content is created based on information gathered from people's socials, and it's intentionally made so that you can more or less predict what's going to happen from the beginning, because otherwise people get stressed out. So apparently it's also placating.
It has the opposite effect on me.
Yeah, I know. Well, there you go. There you go. But it's supposed to be soothing to watch something that you're interested in, but is not going to surprise you or challenge you in any way, which is, I think, slowly rotting everybody's brains, right? Because it's not, why wouldn't you want at least a little challenge or surprise? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And, we talked about, I have this conversation with a lot of people. I work in construction and financial services. We only work with the people who have aptitude to be able to keep a job, because we guarantee that job for 15 months, etc. And we want that process to be good. And we touched base on this other night, but if you're somebody, we didn't meet 5 minutes after meeting you and I, we're having a fantastic conversation. We're off on random tangents, and if we were close, we would be having beers at this point, having this conversation. So, I find that goes out of this world, because people are so judgmental based on, faith, politics, especially in North America, this sort of stuff now. Like you're either one way or the other way. And I think you need to find out pretty quickly if you're somebody that's either when I say high achieving, if you want to earn 100 grand a year, you've got to be a relative high achiever. You have to have some sort of value for that, because you've got to perceive your value in the business of 3 times your cost. Mm-hmm. And let's just say, if you're on 100 grand, your cost is not just 100 grand. It is the cost of the building, the scene that you're in, everything else that comes with it. It is probably 165 grand worth of value, whether that's Canadian dollars, which is about 75p here in the UK, or American dollars. But that value is your value. So if I'm sitting at my desk and someone's paying me 50 grand a year and I think I should be getting paid at 80 grand a year, go and put the effort in to get yourself to that point. And if eventually the company doesn't realize that you're the right person from that, go and find somebody that will find your worth in you. Don't try to get them to pay you what you'll think your worth is. And this again, when we come back to the community piece, there's communities now where people can go on and complain about hiring managers, or people, they try to get me to speak to work. Oh, I see this on LinkedIn. You must see this. And I refrain. And it takes me back to Finding Nemo, where they've got the little shrimp and he's in there and he's like, don't clean. He's like, I will resist. Yeah. It takes me back to that, because I see these people who are obviously smart people somewhat, or posting these, I don't know if it's clickbait or wherever it is on LinkedIn, and they go, my boss said you've got a meeting at 5:30 and I leave at 5. So I just went, well, you don't pay me enough money to stay there. So I left. And I'm just like, did they fire you? Well, that's such a horrendous thing to say, because, you would have joined that job knowing that at some point you were going to have to work outside the boat. And there are limits to this, Rick, right?
Sure.
Let's not take the biscuit here. Let's not. But I started when I came back as an old man in recruitment as 32 years old. Old man. Oof, my God. They were looking at me.
I started in recruitment in 32 as well. That's exactly the age I started in recruitment.
Hey, there was adult diapers on my table when I joined first day one.
Yeah.
I was 10 years older than anyone else. They were like, look, we're going to the pub. They do have a senior citizen section. You can, getting me old man fish and chips and stuff like that. And it was just like, and I loved it because I smashed them all, but that didn't deter me from doing it because I became a part of that piece. And everywhere I went, they were like, oh, you're not going to do very well because that guy over there, he did like 50 grand this month. I'm like, man, but I went there and I learned and I cheered and I took this. Even my family used to say to me, look, Anthony, we don't think you should move. We think you should stay here. You're on 50 grand a year. It's a good job. And I'm like, I don't want 50 grand a year. I want 500 grand a year. I'm going to go. And I went to work in London. I live on the South Coast. It was 2 hours from my house to an office in London. I did it 5 days a week for 2.5 years. I was leaving my young family at 5 o'clock in the morning, coming home at 10 o'clock at night, Monday to Friday. Tell me how many people would do that, who would do that to put the effort in because you knew what was at the end of it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, it's a tough one, right? Because I agree with you, and I think that a lot of candidates who want to better their financial their financial situation, could benefit from that kind of coaching of just understanding what you're bringing to the table, what qualities you possess and skills you possess that are of interest to companies and why. Are you in the right company? Are you somewhere where you possess skills that are not useful over there? So then you're being underpaid. You should go to a company where they actually value your skills, like you're saying, right? But I feel like, unfortunately, when you think about it, there's so many people out there who are working at big companies who fill jobs in. Not every single one of them is going to be able to get themselves to better their life situation like crazy. There are a lot of people who are underpaid and exploited for doing hard jobs. But then you have people who write that message of saying, like, I told my boss to F off, and everyone celebrates them. Yeah. And they're just being a jerk. Like, they're just being a jerk.
Yeah, this is your clickbait. And, it takes you back to a movie, Transformers, the first Transformers movie, or the second one, I think, when he's trying to get a job. And he's like gone to college and his mum and dad are driving around in the camper van and he's going and doing these going to meetings. And the guy went, you're getting this mistaken. The job you want is the next job. This job is just a job that's standing in your way.
Yeah.
And I think that's very interesting. And I'm a relatively unique individual, but I learned my traits myself, and I learned it in the bloody hard way. So if anyone's watching this and seeing the stuff that we do, and don't think that I haven't worked my ass off, and I still don't, because we do. And I'll be doing this until the day that I die because I just absolutely love it. And I found myself going from I'm a recruiter to I'm a management consultant, back to going, I'm a recruiter, man. I absolutely love this. Let's get out there and do it. And I've got a guy starting here tomorrow. His name's Andy. He's a friend of mine's kid, and he's just done 5 years in the military. And I can tell you now, if you're an employer and you think that you are better off hiring somebody that is good at the job but poor work ethic over somebody that has got exceptional work ethic but needs to learn the job, you're mistaken. Hire the work rate all day long. Work rate outperforms talent 10 to 1, 10 to none.
Well, sure. I mean, obviously, hopefully both, right? But if the person has talent and no work ethic, well, then that's not going to fly. So what I love about the test that you're talking about that you're doing is, and again, I have maybe a million questions about how you grade these things, but that's probably for another conversation for another time. But the idea there is that it is still kind of like EQ recruiting, even though you're using AI and tools to test these qualities for people. It kind of sounds like if someone doesn't get 50% on your test in those things that you're talking about, those elements of communication, attention to detail, and so on, time management. I forget the other one now already. I have poor memories. Communication, attention to detail, time management, and what was the fourth one? Motivation. Yeah, the motivation one especially seems amorphous. But so you're saying then that you only work with candidates that get a 50% or higher overall on those.
Yeah, so once our AI is built, and we're at MVP stage here, so when I say our AI built, we've got a monumental AI platform, and Bradley's done a fantastic job, and Daryl. And once we get that built, we will then build. So everyone that gets a no on that, we keep hold of them, and we every 3 months we send them an email, and then we will build a training platform program for them to be able to go into. So we want them to be able to get them up to speed and educate, know what it means to get to this point. But quite frankly, Rick, and you know this as well, there are people out there who an employer is not going to hire. So if I'm going to put people on my platform just for the sake of me going, I've got LinkedIn, let's say I don't even know how many people have got it, but they've got millions of people.
Millions, yeah.
So, if how many of those do you reckon are any good? So if somebody comes and does a job ad on LinkedIn, and you'll know this, your clients will go, you know what, we're going to do a job ad on LinkedIn. And they go, oh my God, we had 60,000 applications. I'm like, who's going to look at them? And they're like, oh, well, we've got somebody in. I'm like, how much do you pay them? 20 grand a year. I'm like, seriously.
How are they going to tell? No, it's true.
How are they going to tell? But also, these people that are applying, you got one-click applications now. What's the process of that? How is that benefit? Who is that good for other than people just going click, 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 click? And then I called a guy the other day who actually clicked on one of our ads randomly. CEO childcare industry, like investment platform.
Yeah.
Massive job. And I went, just out of curiosity, this is Antony he went, I've got no idea who you are. I went, oh, you applied for my job. Oh, I've applied for thousands of jobs. I said, how's that going for you? He goes, very poorly. The industry's terrible. I went, just take this piece of advice. Look at who you're clicking on, just in case they call you back. Because I've called you because you're currently working in Tesco's as a subline manager. And I want to know why you thought that this would be something good for you to click on. But also I'm researching stuff for my information. And he hung up. He rang me back like half an hour later. And he was like, look, sorry. I just didn't know what to say. And then we ended up having a bit of a chat. And actually, he was a very decent guy. He doesn't have any of the qualifications that needed to apply for that advert that I pay $8,000 a year for on LinkedIn. So I have bought this ad. I can put multiple ads on, as you know, on LinkedIn. But
yeah.
Not a stab at LinkedIn because it's a great platform. But I have thousands a month of applications who are not suitable for me.
No, for
should
sure.
I ring every single one of them just because they clicked on the link and said something didn't even know and go, should we do this? No, I should put them through a process. So what will happen in the future is you'll be able to click on any advert from us, click on that, it will take you to our own job site. We've got our own job site. Click on that and you go, I want that job. It goes, great. Upload your CV. You upload the CV. The AI will ask you the questions. It will then put you on a test, all in one foul swoop.
Yep. And the test is video recorded. Is that right?
All video recorded.
Yep.
All of that data forms a part of your record on our platform. So let's say I've gone through this process with somebody that I know, and I'm like, you know what, Rick, I've got somebody, they're in Ontario or we're in Canada. Apparently it's a big place. They
huge.
They're not French Canadian, so they're half decent, and they can. Again, that I don't mean that literally because we don't French Canadians, Rick included. So yes. They are perfect for you. So you get what we call a DDQ, a due diligence questionnaire. Yep. So you will then fill that out. You will identify what that needs. You'll do that through the platform. That then identifies these people. You get their full package. You get their onboarding test, their onboarding process, their training that they've done, their interactions that they've done on our platform, and then the upskilling, what jobs they've done for us, what feedback the client's got, and you get it all on your portal, put on your little portal. So you can click on it and you can go, I want to interview this person, and it sends them a link. You then organize that link between you guys and you do your interview. We have oversight on this, obviously, because our AI communicates with us because we have our back-end portal. But we will then monitor and maintain all that works. If it's need be that you need to do a unique video for that, and you just upload what you need or you talk to us about it, we create that video on the platform. In interviews like it's somebody from your company, those questions get put for you. If you're satisfied with those answers, you interview.
Yeah. And so out of curiosity, on the candidate side of things, once they've done that testing, how do you nurture the community to keep
We've got our own community. We've got our own platform.
Yeah. But then
we put everything on there, like jobs. We do games. We do testing. We do mentoring. We put all the job. You can only apply for a job at 50 with one of our companies that we work with through our platform.
Right.
So you can click on a link, but in that link it will say you have to pass scrutineering, basically a criteria to have access to the portal to apply for this role.
Gotcha.
You know how many people get to that point and don't click through?
Yeah, I believe it.
50%.
Yeah, you know what? I believe I would have thought more, honestly.
So to be honest, well, 50% do that, and then 50% fail our test. So we end up with 25 out of every 100. So, and actually, then by the time it goes through the face-to-face interviewing, another 10 fall out.
For the people who fail, out of curiosity, what kind of communication do they get? Are they aware of
feedback of their process,
of which elements they were weak on, and so is there an opportunity there?
They can have access to their full video and all the data. We don't hold that data back. And also, if somebody has taken the time to go through our process and get to that point, I want them to know why they should improve and how they should.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of this is automated from our perspective, from an AI perspective. But we actually are building on the back of our platform 15 Academy. Okay. Inside 15 Academy, it connects to our training portal.
Right.
So you can have access to our training programs while you're not on our platform.
Yeah.
It's like going to one of those bathrooms where it's a two-way mirror. You can see them, but they can't see you. Yeah. So
you can gauge then if they're interested, if they're doing these things because they want to self-improve, well, then that's a huge feather in their cap to get in the platform.
You'll know this, Rick. You're not speaking to somebody once and going, "Oh my God, I've got this unbelievably good person." Even with us, conversation with us, there's been multiple people that have had this conversation before we sat here having this. We haven't just pulled each other out of thin air,
Yeah, for sure.
So I think, and I mean, we get offered podcasts all the time that we don't choose not to do just because I'm like just talking to some guy that couldn't care less. Like, this is fun,
Yeah.
So I think that you've got to, and funny enough, to take that all the way back to community, you've got to expand that piece. If you cannot become a part of a community, then in our closed community, if you think of a mini LinkedIn, but everybody in there is very good. And we've got 50 different industries that we work in. We've got financial services, construction, et cetera, et cetera. So you're only talking to the construction piece or the financial services, but there is a larger members one that would eventually become a metaverse Web3 platform.
Yeah.
So you can put on your goggles and you can go and you can hang out. You can go to the pub, you can go play golf, you can hang out with the people who are in this platform. We want our community to be built up of individuals who are exceptional, individuals who want to move themselves forward, but also you will find people who are fringe people, who are right on the edge. They don't really know what they want, but they're smart. So they pass the processes, but they didn't necessarily get through the qualification of what roles that you've got. I like to still bring those people on. But what I find is they need 5 times more care than somebody. If I brought you onto my platform, you'd have a right laugh. You go on there, you talk to everyone. You've got people who run banks. You got exceptional people you just need to ask a question to. But then if somebody says to me, "I'm on your platform for 2 months and you haven't got me a job yet," I'm like, "You missed the point completely. Absolutely no problems. I will remove you. Thank you very much for your time with us."
Understood. Yeah. It's not a guarantee of employment, but if you're in the fold, then it's a benefit, and you're among these people who are qualified. But I think that what you're talking about is interesting in terms of everybody may have different elements that they want in their community, depending on what they recruit for. But using AI to manage the process of doing kind of EQ and a very humanistic kind of recruitment. Like, who is this person? What are they like? What are their behaviors like? What are their strengths and weaknesses as a person? Not just how much did they bill or whatever, right? So it's interesting that you're using the AI tools to manage the process of getting a lot of their human data of how they think, how they act, and so on. I think that's an interesting way to integrate AI, but also focus on the person more.
You know what we'll do, and I just thought about this, Rick, and please edit this out if this is something you don't want in it. So
we are live, so it's too late.
No, it's too late. So, you know what? You'll have people on here. I have people all the time, and I like clients, owners of businesses, and I'm like, they're like, "What's the test like?" I'm like, "It's actually not that easy." I mean, I got relatively high score, but I kind of knew what was coming. A lot of people take the test and don't really know what's coming. We prep them as much as we possibly can, but it is a complicated test. We should put a test on your platform and offer something like a recruitment or something for somebody. I'll do that. So your boss is not sending me a message afterwards telling me that I should be giving work away. But we'll do some recruitment for someone, or we'll do something for someone. I'm happy to do that. But we'll put a test on whoever gets the highest score. We'll give them something, and I'm happy to provide the prizes for it from our side. But I don't think we should publicize those, because you'll get people that go do badly who will not want it online. But we're not going to publicize it. We'll definitely think that should be some sort of competition. And we'll talk about this afterwards, Rick. But I'm happy to put up a prize, something that we can provide from a recruitment or a consultancy perspective from our side or yours, whatever it is.
No, for sure. I love that. And
I thought it'd be quite funny because I'll send our test currently to you, because it's on our 15 AI platform. So we'll just do the test. So where's the link? People can click on it, put in their details. If they don't want to, we're obviously not going to spam everyone from it, but it'd be really funny to see what your readers or the people that are watching this, whether they have the capacity, Rick, to be a part of the top 15% of the community.
I'd like to see whether I have the capacity. Yeah. I may fail that attention to detail, my friend. I'm really bad with numbers.
What did you say? Yeah.
I may fail the attention to detail. Yeah. Me and my sister, the both of us, we have really bordering on dyscalculia, right? Where if you show me a string of zeros, I have no idea how many zeros are there. You know what I mean? So it's like...
everyone, I'll tell you, the beauty of this is every single job in the world has some capacity of needing some process work done, and you need to be able to go, right, you've got a report to write, can you write that report? AI might be writing the report, but if you don't understand the attention to detail, what's looked at afterwards, then you're going to fall down on it. And I think motivation, are you motivated? Are you just going to sit there and suck the life out of it? My dad was a recruiter as a young man, and he was a very good recruiter, and he had the best mustache in the business, and he had the best brown pinstripe suits, and he was... You're not old enough, Rick, but back in the day, you used to have photocopies and photocopy their CVs and stuff like that.
I remember. I don't know how young you think I am, my friend, but I'm 45 as of yesterday. So
you're younger than me. So anyway, and he's 84 now. But so he used to write. He used to do this, and he said to me, he used to say to me, son, if you're hiring and you've got 8 people in your business and you add 2 new people, and those 2 new people are not as good as the 8 people that you hired before, what happens to the business? And I used to say, those 8 people will be super motivated and they will train those 2 and they'll do very well. He said, no, the opposite. The business has figured out the new level and they drop down to that level. Yep. Unless you are motivated or incentivizing or working with your people in your business and not overdoing it, but giving it a capacity that's engaging and encouraging them to develop, everybody will go to the lowest level of the business and just sit there.
Well, and that's interesting that and we can talk about this even offline potentially, but there was a time when I was in the music business, right? And I would take jobs, tech sales jobs and whatever else. Yeah. And I would say that I was rather cynical about what the benefit of working hard in a big company when you're doing you're at a sales desk and you're just a number, or you're at a tech support desk or whatever the case may be. Because it's almost like a no good deed goes unpunished kind of thing. They'll just load more onto your plate, and the more ambitious you are, they just won't pay you a dime more. I had one job in particular, which I won't name, that made me the manager at night, which got me a shittier shift and lots more responsibility and not a raise. And then I found out that 2 years into the job, they were paying new people $3 more an hour than me, and I had been there for several years. So you get cynical.
That's bad management. Think of those experiences that you got. Did it make you better at what you're doing right now?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. They absolutely did.
Yeah.
But my point is, I think that depending when you catch somebody, they might be rather demotivated about the benefit of actually doing extra work, right? Because it depends on the environment.
That's why we get paid the money we get paid, Rick. We're here to identify that and to give that information across there. So always pay your recruiters good money, everybody.
True.
Do your own hiring. Rick for recruiters, me for everything else.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Antony, this has been awesome. We're over our hour time, but I would love to have you back again, my friend.
Back on.
You need the hat back on. Anyone who missed the hat, are these 15 brand hats? Is this your hat?
This is actually I can't remember what they're called, but they're called Noggin Boss.
Amazing.
For these guys, you probably see them if you're watching American football. They use them, they wear them there, but it just absolutely makes me giggle when I put the hat on, and it's just so absurd. Look at the size. I mean, I'm a big chap, right? And this is
I love it.
Massive head. It makes me look tiny. So I just love it, you know. And like I said, we love doing what we do here, and this has been a fantastic opportunity, Rick. I feel like I've met somebody that is going to be important for me for my future. So I really, really appreciate it.
Very much likewise, Anthony. Thank you for this. Thanks everybody for listening to Recruiting EQ. Join us every Wednesday at noon Eastern Standard Time when we continue with season 3. Yeah, can't wait to see you all there. Thanks.